3:47 a.m. Strait of Hormuz. 3 U.S. destroyers, USS Mason, USS Arleigh Burke, and USS Truxtun, were moving in tight formation through the narrow waterway. From the Iranian coastline, nearly 50 Shahed drones burst out of the darkness. At the same time, small attack boats surged from hidden coastal inlets, spreading across the radar screens like sparks racing through dry grass. This was not a simple missile attack. It was a full-spectrum saturation strike. Too many targets, too many angles, too little room to maneuver. Iran's goal was clear: overload the Aegis combat systems, crowd the firing lanes, and force the American destroyers closer to the coast, where heavier missile batteries were waiting. Inside the combat information centers of the task force, the Aegis combat systems came under immediate strain. Iran's Shahed drones dropped into a synchronized descent, skimming just meters above the wave tops to exploit sea clutter, a chaotic wash of radar reflections that masked their true signatures. Every sweep of the shipboard radar picture now had to cut through false echoes to find the real threats hidden inside the noise. To keep the formation from going blind, USS Mason and USS Arleigh Burke linked their combat systems, sharing high-resolution sensor feeds in real time. Auxiliary tracking arrays came online, giving the task force a second angle on the fight and closing the blind spots Iran's low-flying drones were trying to exploit. Then the sky erupted. RIM 162 ESSM missiles screamed out of the vertical launch cells in rapid volleys, cutting into the Shahed waves before they could settle into their final attack runs. At the same time, the Mark 45 Mod 4 naval guns opened up. The 127mm rounds hammered the lead mosquito boat formations, throwing water, fire, and fragments across the attack lanes. Behind the first defensive layer, USS Truxtun adjusted its longer-range interceptors, ready to cover any gap opening inside the defensive bubble. But the swarm refused to stay predictable. Iranian fast boats split into splinter groups, zigzagging at maximum speed to drag the Aegis computers into constant recalculation. Drones dipped hard toward the wave tops, then climbed again, forcing the fire control systems to reprioritize threats in seconds. Every move had one purpose: find the smallest hesitation and drive a strike through it. At 4:05 a.m., Iran believed it had finally pulled the American fleet toward the coastal kill zone. Then, the sky above Hormuz changed hands. EA-18G Growlers surged into the battle space. The aircraft activated their ALQ-218 tactical receivers and ALQ-99 jamming pods, unleashing a wide-area electronic assault across the strait. But this was not simple noise. The real weapon was digital radio frequency memory, DRFM. The Growlers caught Iranian radar pulses, copied their patterns, reshaped them within moments, and pushed distorted returns back into the Iranian radar picture. Almost instantly, the coastal radar picture collapsed into confusion. On Iranian screens, one contact became 10, 10 became dozens. Phantom aircraft appeared at believable altitudes, moving at believable speeds, carrying signatures close enough to force a decision. Fire control teams along the coast shifted locks, reassigned batteries, and burned seconds chasing targets that were never there. That was the opening the U.S. Navy needed. While Iranian operators burned precious seconds sorting ghosts from real threats, the actual battlefield began to turn against them. Shahed drones lost clean guidance and drifted out of formation. Some dipped too low and slammed into the water. Others climbed at the wrong moment and were caught by ESSM interceptors before they could recover. Below them, the mosquito boats began to lose rhythm. The front packs kept charging, but the rear groups no longer followed the same timing. One formation cut too wide, another turned too early, a third crossed directly into the firing arc of the Mk-45 guns. The swarm was still moving fast, but it was no longer moving together. USS Mason held pressure on the air tracks. USS Arleigh Burke fed the formation a second radar picture. USS Truxtun watched the gaps open inside the Iranian attack. Then Truxtun fired. SM-6 interceptors launched toward exposed command vessels and active relay nodes, the pieces still trying to hold the swarm together. One strike tore into a command craft. Another hit a relay point feeding targeting updates to the boats below. The goal was not to kill every attacker at once. It was to cut the hands still steering them. The effect spread through the water. The drones stopped arriving in clean waves. The boats stopped attacking from coordinated angles. The coastal batteries still saw targets, but the screen had become a room full of mirrors. Every reflection demanded attention. Every second spent chasing one gave the American ships another second to kill a real threat. Mk-45 rounds hammered the leading boats. ESSMs cut through the drones trying to regain their attack paths. The Growlers kept pressing the network, feeding the Iranian radar picture more ghosts, more doubt, more bad timing. Iran had built the attack around coordination. The Growlers attacked that coordination directly, but Iran did not stop. Radar stations along the coastline came alive. High-powered search beams swept across the sky, hunting for the aircraft feeding the American kill web. Surface-to-air missile batteries began opening their fire control channels. Coastal electronic warfare systems pushed interference into the airspace, trying to smother the data links connecting the F-35Cs, the Growlers, and the destroyers below. Iran had found the next pressure point. The F-35Cs were not just fighters in this battle. They were flying sensors, pulling fragments from radar, shipboard tracks, drone signatures, and missile launches into one shared picture. If Iran could disrupt that picture, the U.S. destroyers would still have weapons but fewer clean tracks to shoot at. The first wave of interference hit hard. Inside the American formation, data tracks began to stutter. Some contacts updated late, others duplicated for a second before snapping back into place. The sky picture did not vanish, but it became less clean, and in Hormuz, less clean was dangerous enough. The Iranian boats felt the opening and surged again. Fast attack craft that had been scattered by the Growlers now regrouped into smaller packs. They no longer tried to move as one giant wave. Instead, they attacked in jagged packs, 3 boats from the north, 5 from the east, another group sliding through the radar clutter near the coastline. At the same time, the remaining Shaheeds dropped back toward the water, using the renewed electronic noise as cover. They were not flying clean attack paths anymore. They were forcing the Americans to keep looking everywhere. USS Mason absorbed the first wave of pressure. Aegis pulled the tracks back into order, but the screen kept filling. USS Arleigh Burke shifted radar attention between the coastal missile threat and the surface swarm pushing in below. USS Truxtun held its longer-range missiles, waiting for the real danger to show itself. Then the shore batteries opened fire. Warning indicators spiked across the formation. Not every launch was aimed to hit. Some were meant to force movement. Some were meant to drain interceptors. Some were meant to make the destroyers turn into worse angles against the swarm. Iran was no longer trying to win with one clean strike. It was throwing problems into every layer of the American defense at once. High above, the F-35Cs adjusted course, keeping distance from the SAM envelopes while still feeding what data they could back to the ships. The Growlers pressed into the interference, trying to keep the Iranian radar picture dirty. Below them, Mason and Arleigh Burke began firing again. ESSMs climbed out of the vertical launch cells and cut into the incoming drones. Mk-45 guns hammered the surface packs as they tried to cross into closer water. Shell bursts walked across the sea in front of the boats, forcing some to turn, breaking others apart before they could reach firing range. But Iran kept pushing. One boat pack used the smoke and spray from a previous impact to mask its turn. Another group accelerated through a gap between 2 engagement zones. A surviving drone dropped so low it nearly vanished into the wave returns before Aegis caught it again and assigned an interceptor. The fight was tightening. The U.S. ships were still holding, but the defensive bubble was shrinking. Too many threats were now arriving at different speeds, different heights, and different angles. The Iranian plan had changed from overwhelming the radar to stretching the entire formation. The American commander now faced the decision no captain wants in a narrow strait. Keep maneuvering fast, and the ships could open gaps between their defensive arcs. Slow down, and the swarm would close the distance faster. There was no clean option. Only the option that kept the formation alive long enough to turn the fight back on Iran. At 4:18, the U.S. commander made the decision Iran had been trying to force all night. The destroyers slowed. USS Mason, USS Arleigh Burke, and USS Truxtun tightened into a defensive box, giving up speed for concentrated firepower. On paper, it looked like the opening Iran wanted, a slower formation, less room to maneuver, more pressure from every angle. But Iran misread the move. The U.S. Navy was not freezing in place. It was planting its feet. The swarm surged again. Fast boats punched in from multiple bearings. Shah drones dropped back toward the waterline. Coastal batteries pushed more threats into the air, trying to turn the defensive box into a coffin. Instead, it became a firing machine. ESSM missiles rose in stacked volleys, cutting drones out of the sky before they could dive. Mark 45 guns hammered the front edge of the boat formations, walking explosions across the attack lanes. Arleigh Burke kept the radar picture alive. Mason controlled the close fight. Truxtun waited for the targets that mattered. Iran kept feeding assets into the kill zone, but now the geometry had changed. The boats were no longer hunting 3 scattered ships. They were charging into 3 overlapping weapons envelopes, each one feeding the next. The first wave broke under gunfire. The second wave tried to split wider and ran into ESSM coverage. A third group pushed through smoke and spray, only to meet the final layer. Then the phalanx systems came alive. The 20mm guns tore across the waterline, turning the last approach corridor into a moving wall of fire. Any boat that crossed too close stopped being part of a swarm and became debris. Then, the real collapse began. Above the fight, the F-35C stabilized the tactical picture. The interference was still present, but it no longer controlled the battle. Tracks cleaned up, false contacts were filtered out. Iranian radar emissions stood out against the noise. And that was the mistake Iran could not take back. To guide the attack, Iran's coastal radar sites had to keep emitting. To hunt the F-35Cs, its SAM batteries had to keep searching. To control the swarm, its relay nodes had to stay active. Every piece Iran needed to win was now advertising its own position. Truxtun fired. SM-6 interceptors ripped toward the coastline, not chasing random targets, but striking the nodes holding the Iranian plan together. One radar site went dark. A relay point vanished. A SAM battery tried to shut down too late. Another command link collapsed before the boats depending on it could receive new orders. The Iranian plan was no longer being disrupted. It was being disassembled. The coastal kill zone that was supposed to swallow the U.S. formation had flipped into a funnel, feeding Iranian drones, boats, and radar nodes into American fire. Growlers kept the Iranian screens flooded with ghosts. F-35Cs fed clean tracks back to the ships. Mason and Arleigh Burke kept the defensive box sealed. Truxtun kept cutting the exposed nodes. Iran had built a trap out of coordination. The U.S. Navy broke the coordination. By sunrise, Iran's attack had not merely failed. It had been dismantled, piece by piece, link by link, signal by signal. Now, if you want to continue following the strategic strikes of Operation Epic Fury, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next update. Goodbye.